That's where we take a large lipid globules and breaking them down into smaller.
Where am I? Oh my God, fine. Gabby, what are we doing here?
So we're in your dream, and I have something to show you. Let's go. Okay, Joey, imagine this.
So Joey, now you know that lipids are used for energy. But where does that energy come from? It comes from lipid digestion, which starts as soon as you put food into your mouth. Remember that lipids are hydrophobic, so they must be enzymatically digested. As you chew, an enzyme called lingual lipase starts to break down the lipids in the food. Then, once you swallow, the food travels down the esophagus and the lipids get broken down more in the stomach by another enzyme called gastric lipase. But the lipids are still not completely broken down. So now they must travel to the small intestine so that they can be broken down into cholesterol that can be used by the body. First off, you need to understand lipids. Simply, a lipid is a hydrophobic macromolecule used by the body for long-term energy. Common examples of lipids are VLDL, very low-density lipoprotein, LDL, low-density lipoprotein, and HDL, high-density lipoprotein. All three are produced in the liver, but very differently. VLDL is created after HDL breaks down chylomicrons using an enzyme called lipoprotein lipase and brings the excess lipid remnants that cannot be used to the liver. Those remnants will mix with a small amount of protein, hence very low density, and will create VLDL. Then VLDL is secreted into the bloodstream and deposits some of these remnants on the artery walls, causing atherosclerosis, a buildup of plaque in the arteries, but not all. These extra remnants that circulate in the bloodstream will be taken back to the liver by HDL and be used to create LDL. HDL is formed endogenously in the liver because it is mainly protein. HDL's main job is to take excess cholesterol to the liver, while LDL's main job is to take cholesterol to the cells to be used. Well, cholesterol is a type of, you guessed it, lipid, naturally produced in the liver and an integral part of the cell membrane. It is also used to make essential molecules like hormones and vitamins.
In the intestinal lumen, which is the material in the small intestines, lipids are called fat globules, and they come together with bile salts in the liver to create emulsion droplets, but don't naturally mix with each other, so that's why in the photo, the bile salts surround the fat globules. Emulsion droplets are just tiny fat particles that are waiting to be able to transform into smaller particles. Then the emulsion droplets will get digested by the lipase that are lymphatic vessels of the small intestine that absorb digested fats. The fat globules get turned into free fatty acids, which are monoglycerides, and get put back together with the bile salts, which equals micelles. Once the micelles get to the epithelial cell layer and leave the intestinal lumen, the bile cells separate from the free fatty acids to let the free fatty acids that are now triglycerides go through the epithelial cell layer. While they go through the layer, protein wraps around them to make chylomicrons, which will be explained later. The chylomicrons start to move through the secretory vesicle, which lead them to the lacteal, which are lymphatic vessels of the small intestine, which absorb digested fats. Chylomicrons are lipoproteins that mostly carry triglycerides and cholesterol into the bloodstream, which transports it to areas to be able to give your body energy and nutrients. Chylomicrons are made up of four things: phospholipids, apolipoproteins, cholesterol, and triglycerides. Chylomicrons are surrounded by phospholipids, which are 6 to 12% of the particle, and they are hydrophobic, which allows the stuff inside them to remain intact. On and through the phospholipids, there are apolipoproteins, which are 1 to 2% of the particle, and it allows the chylomicron to be able to form, and it's essentially the backbone of the chylomicron. Then we have the cholesterol, which is 1 to 3% of the chylomicron, and it will be used by the tissue or the liver for metabolism. Lastly, we have the triglycerides, which are 82 to 92% of what chylomicrons are made of, and get put into storage or get used for energy.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Hey guys, don't forget, tomorrow we have a lipids test. Make sure you study.